During war, always be prepared for a rainy day. Except it's not raining cats and dogs this time. It is raining metal darts, and some more metal darts. This Italian invention called Flechettes was first used by the French in World War I. The metal darts were carried under the fuselage of an aeroplane. The pilot would search for enemy positions with large concentrations of infantry. When released, hundreds of metal darts would fly down from the sky towards the enemy at high speed. The weight of the darts made sure it could penetrate the steel helmets of the soldiers below. However, if you were one of the lucky ones not to get metal darts into your skull, you and your friends would still be transformed into a bunch of porcupines, being in a lot of pain as well. Can you imagine Phil Taylor dropping these bad boys? Would have made the crowd go wild on some impressive 9-darters. What about a nuclear warhead on a mortar round? Why not? For sure, you don't have to worry about your rounds missing the target because this anti-everything-in-front-of-it device doesn't know any near misses. A bunch of soldiers could carry around this device on the battlefield, deploy it relatively quickly, and fire a 23-kilo nuclear mortar over a distance of 2 kilometers. Upon impact, the mortar would explode, creating a blast yield of 20 tons of TNT, which is not a good thing if you are on the receiving end. Outside the blast zone, soldiers close enough would still receive a lethal dose of radiation. You get the point by now. It's mostly just a lot of death and nothing after the event of firing this weapon. Despite its deadly potential, the weapons were never used in active combat. Does the name anti-tank scooter sound like fun? Then this next vehicle is going to be to your liking. This French design is an answer to the question, can you kill tanks while being on your way to a local bakery? We've all been there. It also carried 6 extra rounds in case your scooter was still there after firing it. Hell, why not do a wheelie and use it as an anti-air gun as well? Now, I know we constantly make jokes about the reputation of the French military, but you can't just show us a moped with a fucking naval gun slapped to it and expect us to keep straight faces. Although, in the Frenchies' defense, the cannon was not really designed to be fired while on the move. However, in the heat of battle, you could still fire it if you felt like it. Are you scared to show your face? Then this gun system is made for you. The Krummlauf is a curved barrel invented by the Germans in World War II. It was to be placed on an STG-44 assault rifle to shoot around corners. You would think this gives you some serious tactical advantages on the battlefield. Well, it does in some cases. For example, if the enemy is hiding in a pipe, stuck on a toilet, or just drowning in a well. In most other cases, however, it's useless. With the 90-degree barrel variant, the enemy was not able to see you, but you could also not see the enemy, unless you mounted a bunch of mirrors to the gun, which you might not like to carry around on a battlefield. After firing a few mags, the barrel was completely turned to shit. Bullets shattered, turning the device into a shotgun. Basically, the only way they could have made this weapon even dumber was by making the barrel 180 degrees. Before the introduction of advanced guidance systems, there was an unusual idea for missile guidance involving pigeons. The project was called Project Pigeon. Sounds sophisticated already. This idea never made it beyond the drawing board, but nevertheless it ruffled some feathers. A pigeon in the nose of the missile, which we will call Pilot Cuckoo for now, would be looking at a small screen. The target for the missile would be displayed on the screen through a camera. Pilot Cuckoo would be trained to peck onto the target with great accuracy, although the reward for completing these difficult aerial maneuvers would be a very quick death for the bird. I mean, I can imagine winning better prizes for coming in first. Despite the sophistication of the pigeon-guided missile system, Pilot Cuckoo did not make it very far in the pecking order, and other more advanced weapon systems were implemented to be turned into real weapons. Sorry, Pilot Cuckoo. Yes, we are serious about this one. A gay bomb. Now you are probably thinking they can't hint at a device designed to bomb people into games. Well, prepare yourselves. At some point in time, a concept emerged for a chemical weapon that would release pheromones, causing soldiers to get sexually aroused and attracted to individuals of the same sex. Which is a nice way of saying they dropped their guns and started to suck each other's cocks in anger. How do you make a war movie about that? I mean, can you imagine a soldier storming an enemy position only to find a bunch of soldiers occupied in some mutual fellatio? And the Oscar goes to... In the end, the project was considered impractical and unethical. Funny, bombing civilian targets every few years in Goat-Fuckistan is okay, but turning people gay is a bit much. With the bat bomb, the Americans came up with the idea to put a shitload of bats into a big cylindrical container and drop it over a Japanese city. After it stabilized in freefall, the container would open at a predetermined height. Thousands of bats carrying incendiary devices designed to ignite upon impact would dive down on the city below. Since most buildings in Japanese cities were made of wood, well, you do the math. Many wooden buildings plus thousands of blazing bats equals a lot of buildings gone and many homeless. But then the Americans came up with the nuclear bomb. It equals even more buildings gone. Oh, almost forgot about the homeless people. They would also be gone in this case. The Americans obviously preferred the latter, maybe because they hated Japanese people, but also, who wants to carry a giant metal Pringles can with thousands of Molotov bats in their plane, cruising at an altitude of 30,000 feet? Anyone? In ancient warfare, creativity often met necessity, leading to some unusual tactics. One such historical oddity is the use of incendiary pigs. The story dates back to ancient Rome, during the siege of Megara Publia. And yes, we forgive you if you don't know the place. In a desperate attempt to breach the city's defenses, pigs were coated in a flammable tar and set alight. The Romans hoped to achieve success by completing these steps. Step 1. Getting the pigs panicked, which worked because they were on fucking fire. Step 2. Make them run towards the city gates, which also worked. Step 3. Setting the city on fire. Well, this did not happen. The pigs ran back to their loving, caring owners and set them ablaze. I guess it goes without saying that failing epically to complete Step 3 did not help the Romans a lot in taking over that city. It was not all bad news for the Romans though. At least they could drink away their failure with some good wine and some delicious spicy fried pork. Bon appetit! Traveling light isn't an option when you're hauling around 1,350 tons. Yep, you heard it right. Say hello to the Schwerer Gustav. This Nazi-built railway artillery gun was nothing short of excessive. Just for starters, this thing had thousands of tiny little Nazi soldiers to assemble, disassemble, transport, maintain, and obviously fire the weapon. Oh, and after firing it about 300 times, the barrel inside looked kinda like the target it was firing at. Not exactly ideal. To make a shittier design even shittier, it could only be moved fully assembled if it was placed on 2 parallel train tracks. So forget about a quick shoot, in and out while flashing around your big long gun. Wait, that sounded a bit gay. Anyways, back to Nazi terror weapons. This project was mostly Hitler's brainchild. So it goes without saying that you can regard all of this as part of a longer list of bad military adventures. Oh, sorry, mein Führer. I am sure you already know a few planes or plane-ish creations that were not a success. However, this next invention is probably far beyond not a success. Say hello to the BE-9, the world's first plane with a propeller between the pilot and the gunner. Any drawbacks to that? Well, forget about any instructions going back and forth, you know, with a propeller between you and the pilot. Besides not talking, it might also be a great idea not to tilt your head backwards. If you do, you will be a headless gunner, and your pilot buddy will get a complimentary brain shower at 12,000 feet. I'm sure that doesn't help anyone during an intense dogfight. Oh wait, it does help someone. The enemy pilot. Duh. It wouldn't take long for a smart Dutch guy to come up with a machine gun that could just shoot between the propeller blades, putting this shitty plan into the shitter.